Hello, everyone, and welcome to our virtual open house. We are delighted to see you today. And I am thrilled to be joined by two of our incredible alumni who are here to share some of their own personal experiences and insights to enable you to understand what studying at Harvard is really like and the life, the alumni world that is yours upon graduation. My name is Jill Felicio, and I am a graduate of the ALB program back in 2000, as well as a graduate of the ALM program in 2013. And I'm also very honored to be the Director of Advancement here for Harvard's Division of Continuing Education, where I build global alumni engagement programs worldwide and support fundraising efforts here and oversee all of our special events. There is no event more special than this, because you are undoubtedly making a very big decision. Now, all of us here today have been in your shoes, thinking about, the potential to study at Harvard on all that entails and all of that unlocks. So we remember this moment in time. So I'm delighted to have both Steve Gardner here with us, who earned his ALM in 2021, and Troy McDonald, a graduate of the ALM as well in 2022. So with that, I would love to invite Steve to tell us just a little bit about yourself as we get underway.
Oh, such a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much, Jill. And I will just say, you'll want to get to know Jill over, if you can. We only met at commencement when I graduated, but I am blown away by how much she's able to accomplish with the resources that we have in the extension program. It's really, really amazing. So I'm Steve Gardner. I'm calling in from Singapore, which is an amazing place to be, but it also is really far from campus. So when I had to travel for weekend events and things like that, it did take some effort, and maybe some of you can relate to that. Maybe some of you are thinking, man, I live in a different country. This is going to be, is it even possible? And it took me a long time, but it is possible. And I guess I'll introduce myself just really quickly, because I want to have as much time as possible for the questions. But I loved my experience, absolutely loved it. And it's made a huge impact on my professional and personal life since then. And I'm sure we'll get into those details. But you have a lot to look forward to. I can just kind of put myself in your emotional shoes from a few years ago in my own situation. So, but it's a pleasure for me to be here, and I'm thrilled to help out however I can.
Thanks.
And Troy was next.
Yes, thank you so much, Steve and Jill. This is just an amazing panel to be a part of. The Harvard experience changed my life. It was the most prominent and important experience of my life. And I am honored to be here today. A lot of you may have full-time jobs as well. And that's what I had when I was a student at Harvard, and still do. But at the time, I was a reporter in Kenosha, Wisconsin during the unfortunate incidents of the Jacob Blake shooting, covered the Rittenhouse trial, and through all of that, the 2020 election, through all of that, I was able to manage my studies. And so there are a lot of you who have so many things to balance, and it is definitely possible to do so here at Harvard. And so I'm so excited about this conversation. And thank you, Jill, and everyone here at Harvard for inviting me.
Thank you both. We again are just thrilled to have you. And I'd love to drill into just a little bit more, about the life, that sort of gets in the way, and what a privilege it is to be able to study at Harvard while working full time and caring for family and balancing just so many obligations, that kind of come and go, and they cycle, and there's pandemics and there's sickness and there's, the everyday challenges of life. And still, I think it's, really just amazing to be able to pursue studies and throughout. So I would love to hear, about any particular advice that you would give to a prospective student who may live several time zones away from campus, or may have other obligations that take some time. Do you have any advice for maybe managing time or overcoming that challenge? Troy, do you want to answer that one first?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely a support system that I had. My mother was, and friends were so crucial in my degree program. There were many times where I was hungry and I couldn't go out to get, she would bring groceries, she would bring food, right? And so it was that, but also having a vision at the end of the tunnel. If you're going to commit to this program, you really have to know that this is important and that it will take every ounce of energy, almost every ounce of energy that you have. And so I knew that I was going to succeed. I wanted this degree more than anything in my life. And it was never a question, right, that I was going to get through it. And so for me, it was just setting the priorities, setting the boundaries of what I could do. Maybe I couldn't watch that extra television show, or maybe I had to stay up a little bit later to do that, right? So prioritizing the things that are important, and the support system were huge for me.
Yes.
Amazing. I'll jump in just to add to that. I think you're right. I think that's the right way to do it. But I did not believe that I was going to get through it. I would not have begun this process if someone, I mean, my brother started before me, right? So he was already into this, and we were having a conversation, and he said, look, yeah, you've got two kids, you live 12 hours, your time zone is exactly the opposite. So night is day and day is night, and you work full time. But look, one day, if you just get started and you keep one foot in front of the other, you'll wake up with a degree from Harvard University. And so he said, look, registration is closing. Let's just sign up for one class. I'm taking the class, you take the class, let's take it together. And that's how I got started, and I am forever grateful for my brother. So anyway, I think that for me, it's just one day at a time. And don't even, I'm glad you could see the tunnel and you had the vision. I did not. I felt like I'm just gonna keep taking classes, and then someday I'll wake up with a degree. And that's exactly how it felt. It's just like, wait, I don't have to register for classes next semester. I'm done. So it's anyway, I think you just one day at a time, you take it one day at a time.
Yeah, no, I really love that, because I think everyone has their good days where, everything's up, it's inspiration, it's great, we're moving forward. And then the hard days where you just got to get through. And I think, generally all of us here that come to study have a very focused pursuit in our academic discipline. Can you talk a little bit about your academic endeavor and whether those skills that you learned while here were able to help you in your work at the time? Steve.
In so many ways. I mean, I don't want to monopolize all of our time to explain everything that I do, but businessman turned teacher, high school teacher turned businessman in high school teaching. So I help teenagers prepare for highly selective colleges. And one of the things that I do is I help the teens find their core values and then choose a problem in their community that violates one of their core values. And then I teach them the 9 frameworks of problem solving that I learned in my design thinking class at Harvard. I teach them, I mean, so many of the things that I do professionally in my company, working with teens, are directly just pulled from class and inserted into my training that now I'm giving to teens who can take advantage of these, this mindset and these strategies way before I was able to take advantage of them. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, like literally pulling actual curriculum and recycling it in my own classes. And then, I mean, everything else from the networks to the, being able to reach out. And I don't know if people who are just thinking about getting started, if they fully realize how many different communication channels there are and how many different amazing people there are, especially in the extension school, that once you get to know them, I have helped my teens connect with my old classmates so that they had a mentorship opportunity. And my old classmates loved working with these ambitious teens, and the teens had a Harvard graduate or a Harvard student to work. I mean, it's just endless ways that the degree and my classes and everything else now impact and enrich my life and my profession. It's truly, that's a topic we could talk about for a long time.
Absolutely. That is such great point, Steve. And for me, it was almost identical. My program was in government. And at the very same time that I was taking my degree, I was able to apply my coursework to my reporting and make sure that I
Oh,
understood
yeah.
the political landscape, the global landscape as things were happening in real
Oh, yeah.
time. And so it was extremely important that this degree was kind of there at the same time. My teachers were, I was almost like a news reporter in real, obviously in real life, and then in the classroom because they'd ask, what's going on in Kenosha? What's going on in Wisconsin, as we were a battleground state. And so that kind of symbiotic relationship between the curriculum and my work was so rewarding. And to Steve's point, the support here, the team here at Harvard wrap around you and provide you with so much support and resources, because that was a very difficult time, balancing all of those things. I never felt alone. I never felt abandoned. I always felt that I had the help and support I needed from the Harvard team.
Wow. Thank you both for sharing that. I agree completely. I think regardless of what you study, I think that there's this unifying factor of really personal and professional transformation. I mean, I can speak to my own experience going through both of these degrees, and it just changed every aspect of the way that I speak, I write, I think. It expanded my worldview like no other because of my peers who were joining from around the world. I mean, really essential, like back to both of your points, the people are the center of why this experience is so unique. And I do think I agree that the support is a real differentiator from any program that I've ever been a part of. But it's the people in the community that I think are most valuable. So, again, getting back to the people, one of the people that can have the biggest impact are our faculty members. And we draw our faculty members from all over campus. And I wonder if either of you have any favorite memories from class or, memories of professors that touched you in any particular way. Steve, do you want to start?
Sure. I mean, I definitely do. I was, in fact, this is not a bad transition. I was going to say, Troy, I'm glad you had that experience. I didn't reach out and find those networks until very late in my process. And I think part of that was geographically being so far away and not fully realizing, to me, I showed up to class. And if there's one thing that I've learned towards the end and has continued, it's great because now that I've graduated, I can take advantage still, even though I'm finished with classes. But everyone that's just starting, if you can start to become aware of all the resources and ask questions, because there are plenty of people are willing to help. But the people who were there for me, since I wasn't familiar with all these networks of support and everything else, were the professors. I had so many favorites. I've interviewed several of them on my podcast. John Paul Rollert is a visitor from Chicago Booth School of Business, and he taught my leadership class. We just had a reunion, believe it or not, a virtual reunion from that class, and that's probably the only class that I've ever attended where the students gave the teacher a spontaneous standing ovation. So inspiring, so touching. But probably even more telling was someone who wasn't my teacher, Cass Sunstein, who I believe is still on leave working for the Biden administration with their economic policy. But when I was working with a small group, and it was 2:15 a.m. Eastern time because of our time zones, and that was the time that all four of us could talk at the same time. Group projects are a bit of a challenge, just so everyone knows, but we were meeting at this, ungodly time for Dr. Sunstein, and we brought up behavioral economics, and of course he's like the world leader in behavioral economics, written New York bestseller books, and we said we should reach out and just see if we can get some advice for our project, so we can consult this company. And someone sent an email to him at 2:15 in the morning, one of the four people in our group, and he immediately responded. And he said, I finished packing my plane. I don't leave for the airport until 3. So if you want, I can jump on a Zoom call for the next 45 minutes. Cass Sunstein, like,
Crazy.
are you serious? And we chatted with Cass Sunstein for 45 minutes about behavioral economics and how we could consult the business that we were consulting. Man,
Amazing.
I've got other stories too, but yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So he wasn't even our teacher. Samantha Powers, his wife, the director of USAID, she showed up in one of my classes and wasn't even our teacher, but she came in and was really inspiring.
Oh,
Yeah, endless stories of situations like that.
That's an amazing story, Steve. That's great. My favorite teacher, or one of my favorite, I have so many, I can't name one, but a particular memory was John Stauffer, who is the world-renowned expert on Frederick Douglass and the daguerreotype photograph, which was a invention in the 19th century. And he invited all of his students to go down to Boston to some of the early, I'll be frank, slavery places where that occurred in Boston, and we toured around the city, and afterwards we had lunch. I sat at his table and just picked his brain and talked about Frederick Douglass, talked about that period, where we moved as a nation. That was incredibly profound for me. Todd Washburn is another professor who was incredible. And I decided I was done writing papers, and this is another benefit of the extension program. I said, I'm bored with writing the traditional term paper. Is it okay with you, I asked this of Professor Washburn, if I write my final in the version of a Simpsons episode? And it was about American polarization, and I sold it as, well, this is the preeminent American family on television, right, that everyone knows for 30 years. This might be an interesting playground for this subject. And he said, we'll see how it goes. You can send me a sample, and then it turned out that he remembers it to this day, and he's writing a recommendation letter for my PhD studies as I continue. He was that supportive of my work. So that is just an example of the ability to be creative. And the professors are working with you hand in hand to make sure that you are getting the best educational experience and that you're designing it.
Wow, that amazing. I mean, both of you, just
That's
spectacular.
so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no end, depending on the class that you were in, guest speakers that appear. I had Buzz Aldrin come to one of my cybersecurity classes back in the late 90s, dating myself. But no, there's just so many treasures of faculty intellect that are there for you and want to help you, and really want to hear from you years later. And I honestly, Troy, that's just incredible with the Simpson story. He'll never forget that. There are a number of questions, I think, related to the modality of study and the online experience. And, you both studied at a distance and had the intimacy of these faculty relationships. Can you speak just for a minute to address what it was like on the virtual platforms, the online learning systems? Troy, you had just mentioned, so you start.
Absolutely. So for me, it was kind of a different experience. I'm a very self-sufficient self-starter. And so for me, getting the assignments and working through that was not necessarily an issue. I thrived in that environment. However, I was still planning to move to campus in March of 2020, and then something happened. I don't know what happened in March of 2020. That kind of threw things for a loop. I think we all remember. And so that kind of threw things for a loop. So I knew I was going to be online throughout the entire program. Campus was shut down, and I still felt immense closeness with my professors. As Steve said, they will get on a Zoom at all different times. They will email you, converse with you, I had John Stauffer's cell phone number. They're very, and that's not always going to happen, but there really wasn't that much of a difference. You just have to be very disciplined, and that's the reality of your work. You have to know that, hey, you have to time block that couple of hours at home to get that work done.
That's great.
Yeah, I I don't know, the modalities is pretty straightforward for me, is just Zoom. A couple of teachers got creative with other things, and my design thinking class had a Slack channel, had a whole Google file, with slides and with all kinds of different things. But most of the classes were really straightforward. Show up on Zoom, submit your assignments on Canvas, and you just kind of, that's how it was. I will say, to me, I'm really glad that there was a requirement to show up on campus 4 times. That I wish it was easier for me to show up. I really loved being on campus. But I mean, to answer the question, it was pretty straightforward. It was Zoom and Canvas, and every once in a while, other things like Slack or WhatsApp groups or whatever, Google folders, Google Drive stuff. But pretty straightforward. I never had any real issues there.
Great. And I think, there are a number of questions related to kind of residency and visiting campus and what that experience was like. And our time, runs really quickly here. So I would love to hear about the moments spent on campus. Like, yes, you're at a distance, you've carved this out in your life, your house, your office, your family. But when you come to campus, that's a particularly special time. So if you have any favorite memories from campus, whether it be through your residency, through graduation, any moments that you care to give people a glimpse of? Troy?
I can jump in here. Sorry. Yeah, I think that my favorite moments have evolved over time, but like before I began, the things that I would probably be most excited to hear about is it's really fun when you get your student ID, and you can only get that on campus, right? So you come to campus and you go to the Smith Center and you have no idea what you're doing, but you go there and you ask for your ID and it takes 10 minutes and you've got an ID, and now you can go to the Widener library and you can, all this stuff that is like, I don't know, it's really cool. It's just really special. I personally, my highlights, besides graduation, which was unbelievable also, but meeting someone who's having lunch under a tree, and you find out that for me, this was kind of a game changer. I met some people who are in admissions at Harvard and just had lunch together and had a conversation that ended up changing my career, because I realized that my passions around personal development were so closely aligned with the way that they want to find candidates for school. So that changed my whole life, like that random encounter. But multiple conversations with students who are at the college, who are at the other graduate schools. I spent a ton of time at the education school because I'm a teacher, and I spent a lot of time at their library there and meeting people there, and a ton of time at the business school because of other reasons. I really wish, I packed as much as I could into those short visits. COVID made that hard. And so I think that now, starting at this stage where you can be on campus more and take advantage of the Innovation Center, the Innovation Lab, and all these things they're Harvard, the Harvard Business School runs the Innovation Lab, but extension school students go and participate regularly and partner with business school students and do amazing things. And so, yeah, I would say, if starting now, I would say you've got a lot to look forward to on campus, besides the magical encounters of sitting under the same tree to eat your lunch and then getting to know someone who turns out to end up being a really good friend for life. All of the clubs and all of the everything else, it's really, really special. And but you have to be on camp. At least for me, I had to be there to kind of discover that stuff. So I think that should be a point of emphasis. If I was a new student considering this, I'd be thinking about, I need to get there as often as I can and just take advantage.
Absolutely. I completely concur. Being on campus, those on-campus moments were just incredibly illuminating for me. I took several classes there and had, I think, one of my better performances in class. And the professor, he said that was the best readout or presentation I've seen in a class. And so that was just heartwarming. That was James Karras. But for me, the biggest thing on campus for me was graduation. My mother had me at 71. I'm sorry, at 41. She's now 71, 72. And she took her first flight to graduation in 44 years. She was 28 the last time she had taken a flight before coming to graduation. And we grew up in poverty. My family grew up in poverty. We relied on public assistance to get us through. And the fact that she could see her son, her baby boy that she never thought she would have at 41, to be quite honest, walking on the Harvard yard, I could get emotional right now because who knows, that could be the last flight she ever takes.
Mhm.
And the fact that we hugged and we embraced at that moment, it is the greatest moment of my life. And I implore all of you, I know this sounds really salesy, but I truly mean it. Your life will change. It is the best experience that I've ever had, and it will never be duplicated.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's an incredibly emotional thing. And I think, it's hard to not get nostalgic for all that you experience as a student. And my best advice would be to make every minute count, because there are so many countless opportunities to make really valuable life connections and experiences that are like no other. Now, the Q&A is very, very busy, and the theme there is impact. How do employers perceive you and your education and your degree, and how has this really had impact for you? I can answer just a couple high-level questions. Harvard Extension School is one of Harvard's degree granting institutions, of which there are 12. And now a graduate of the ALB or the ALM program is a member of both the Harvard Alumni Association, which is university-wide, as well as our school's alumni association, the Harvard Extension Alumni Association. So graduating alongside your graduates, I think the other grads at Harvard, you really feel the weight and the depth of that kinship in the Harvard family, and even more so in the alumni world when you formally join that family. It's really something special. But I wonder, Troy or Steve, feel free. Are there any benefits to having Harvard University on your resume?
That's a funny question, because I have had it's like you said, it's one of the 12 degree granting schools. People are just amazed. I hear questions, what was campus like? What was the educational opportunity? What were the educational opportunities like? And I never get any other questions besides people are just thoroughly impressed. And as we pointed earlier, we have professors from across the entire university who have worked with us and who are writing my recommendation letters for my PhD programs and are proud to do so. So I've had absolutely no issues. It is amazing being a part of the Harvard family.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've already shared how big of an impact it's had on me professionally. I run my own business now, so it's hard to answer that fully authentically because I'm not submitting resumes. And I think the question is not Harvard University. It's does the extension school kind of create an asterisk for Harvard University? I can't answer that for sure from my own personal experience because I transitioned to my own company. But honestly, from what I've heard from people who are submitting resumes, rarely do employers know enough about Harvard to know that the extension school is open enrollment. You need to get certain grades. Like it's a different system, right? It's meant for a different demographic. Rarely do people know that much about the extension school.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say for sure, but from what I've heard from my friends and peers in the school, I think it's been a really, really positive thing. I don't think that concern, I'm sure it comes up sometimes. I'm sure it's like, well, the extension school, tell me, but I just, the overwhelming conversations, the preponderance of evidence says that it's overwhelmingly helpful to everyone that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Trying to be as honest as I can here and helpful as I can to everyone who's listening in.
It's
There
interesting.
has to be some, yeah.
I think, yeah, Harvard University is not just one thing. It is this, we are all spokes in the wheel of Harvard University here in graduate and professional schools. So,
Right.
I think, people see in my own experience and in many of the alumni's experience, Harvard itself opens so many doors and opportunities and relationships. But also along the way, there are, getting back to support for prospective students who are contemplating, especially entering a degree program or a certificate. There are mentoring opportunities along the way also that are designed, to help you change careers, find a new opportunity, imagine what's next. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. They also exist in the alumni world.
When we hear about success stories, I hear success stories from my friends all the time of amazing opportunities that they were able to grab as a result of this. It's pretty common to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you go to like an alumni event, there's people from all 12 schools, right? And it's like, oh, I didn't realize that there was a school of arts and design or whatever. Oh, tell me about the extension school. And there's he's from the medical school. He's doing this. She's from college. Oh, what house were you in? And some people were in houses, some people weren't. And everyone just kind of, you help each other. Literally today, I texted a doctor that I met at the last alumni activity here in Singapore. And he said, if you have any issues, just text me. And my son has an issue, and I texted him, and he texted back. I mean, it's just, he went to the Harvard Medical School. I went to the Extension School, and now our connection is Harvard. We don't know much else because he never went to any of my classes. I never went to his, but we have a connection, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, I mean, I can tell you that the commitment to study at Harvard is immensely bonding. And, that Harvard family, I think, is really unified around, what they learned and the opportunities that were unlocked at Harvard. That's a really special thing. So regardless of where your lens is and what school that you're in, I think there's this unifying factor of gratitude and appreciation for what Harvard, does. So it's really great. Thank you both. Time is running short, so we have time for just like parting remarks. I will thank everyone who has attended for giving us your time, and for Troy and Steve, especially giving your time in the middle of your very busy days. But, the decision to study is a difficult one at times. There are lots of options. Will I have the time? There's plenty of fears in the way. Harvard is immensely intimidating at times. I think it's really great to have your experience, told in such authenticity and realness, because this experience is just so genuinely unique. So thank you both. And the floor is yours if anyone would like to say any parting words to our prospective students, and go for it.
I'll jump in here. Bet on yourself. This may be woo-woo up in the air, but I believe that we are all here for a purpose and for a reason, whether that's for our loved ones, our family. We all have goals we want to achieve, right? There are things that are important to us. Bet on yourself. This was a very scary time for me. People had even told me, I don't even know if you can do this. I knew I could. And if you have that inkling within yourself, it's worth it to give it a shot and to push forward through all the bad times, the good times, and graduation, which is anointing. So thank you, Jill, for allowing me to be here.
Wonderful.
Yeah, all I've got is gratitude. It's been an incredible experience, and Troy, well said. Take a chance on yourself. Take your first step. That's all I could do a few years ago. Take your first step and just keep one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and one day you wake up with a degree from Harvard University. And that's how it happens. At least that's how it happens if you're really, really busy and you can only take a couple classes at a time. So,
oh, I love it. Yep. And once you do take that step, you're joining a community that's there for you for a lifetime. So it's really amazing. Thank you both, and good luck to everyone attending today. And we'll talk to you both soon.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.